All right, 7 o'clock and you're live.
Okay, it's January 5th, 2021. First, let me wish everybody here at the meeting and everybody in the city of Oneonta a very happy new year. And we're all look forward to a wonderful 2021. And this is the first meeting of 2021 of the City of Oneonta Common Council. It is hereby called to order. I will call the roll. Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Councilmember Davies.
Here.
Councilmember Risberger.
Here.
Councilmember Lopari Shu.
Here.
Councilmember Carson.
Here.
Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
Councilmember Rafter.
Here.
Councilmember Drenick.
Here.
Okay, everybody is here. And we've got a bunch of special guests today. And the first thing on the agenda is I invited members of First Night Oneonta Committee to come and give us a chance to express our appreciation for the work that they did, and also hear from them a bit of a brief out as to how it went, recommendations for the future if this becomes a repeat event, successes, challenges, whatever they want to share with us. But first, I just want to say to the committee, this is the committee that puts together First Night Oneonta every year, which is a performing arts-based event. And this year, obviously, we couldn't have it. There was no mandate on them to do something else, but they felt that they had to welcome the new year in a positive way and provide the people of the city with a healthy, safe way to do something special to celebrate the year. And they came up with the Festival of Lights. And, it's one of those things where you hope it's a big success, but you become afraid you've never done it before, that it becomes too big of a success. And it certainly was a very, very big success. And I don't know if we have a count of how many cars came through, but it's certainly be in the thousands. So with that, just let me say thank you to all of you for your work on this, for your energy, for your passion that you brought to it. And I know that the people of the city and visitors from outside the city really enjoyed it and valued it as a unique way to spend New Year's Eve in this unique year. I'm going to turn it over first to Carol Mandigo and let Carol say a few words, and then anybody else in the committee who wants to join in, and then I'll let council members ask questions or make comments. Carol?
Well, I'm actually shocked by how well it did turn out. And, I'm in such a fortunate position. I see Julie Dostal, the executive director of LEAF here, to be working at LEAF that allows me to work full time on events like this, which this first year, it really did require someone working full time and, babysitting the tripping circuit breakers and digging out from under the 3 feet of snow and the 3 inches of rain and the freezing rain and the 40-mile-per-hour winds. And Gary and Connie Herzig were both over there trying to wrap everybody's wires up and then unwrap them again as the circuits tripped and we had to diagnose them and wrap them up. So it was a tremendous amount of work, but we got absolutely nothing but cooperation and compliments. The community reaction, the letters that we've gotten from people who said we had 4 generations of our family in the car and we came time and time again. The Hayen family, like Jaren and her mom had tears in their eyes, and to be able to honor Paul Robinson and have all of these local businesses and local people creating unique displays unique to Oneonta and our area. it was such a treasure. I was there a lot, and the number of cars going by was astounding. Even as late as this Saturday, I just sat there and I could not believe the bumper to bumper cars going through Neowa Park, and it was such a beautiful sight. Neowa with the snow on the trees, and I just I'm so thrilled with the way it turned out. And actually, since we did experience almost everything you possibly could this year in terms of weather and disasters and everything, we got a sense of how easy it will be to have it become an annual event and how expandable it is, with just a little bit more electric service in the park, a few more generators, a little bit more infrastructure there. Not only the Festival of Lights could grow, but we could have so many tremendous events in that park. It's such a resource. It's just so beautiful. And everyone that we've worked with has been fantastic, like SUNY Oneana, Terry Zimmer, and actually Keith Mott, their electrician from their maintenance department at SUNY Oneana, just volunteered to do the plan for any type of electrical work we wanted to put in. I'm talking about maybe junction boxes to displays or vendors, or if you were running any type of festival of lights or music festival or craft or vending festival, it would be nice to run some conduit and just put a few extra boxes in there. And Keith Mott volunteered to do all the planning for that for free. The Rotary Club is saying they might do a grant to provide some materials. Job Corps, Chris Kuhn seemed open to maybe helping, grow the electrical infrastructure. But even without extra electrical infrastructure, just with a few more generators, that event could be at least twice that good next year. Many people are saying they want to create displays for it. And I don't know. That's all I have to say. I put my pitch in for electrical infrastructure, but we don't need it, but it would be nice. The generators worked great, but it would be very easy to expand on that and turn it into something unique to Oneana, artistic, different than the commercially produced and bought light displays that they have in other towns. And really something special. So I'd like to see it continue next year.
Carol, just two things. One, you heard Carol say that under normal conditions in future years, it would be easy. I want you to know that Carol's definition of the word easy is different from anybody else in the world's definition. Also, Carol, when made a pitch for some additional electrical infrastructure in there, when you make a pitch, don't say we don't need it, because if you're going to do this again, you do need it.
Well, that park is just amazing for events, in the wintertime in there is spectacular. We took pictures on Sunday.
If I can make a couple quick comments to follow up on what Carol was saying, if my microphone is on.
You're on.
Thanks. Two things. One, Gary and Connie, thanks for slogging through the snow and helping us make this thing happen. I need to acknowledge that. And also Carol for being there every day to make this thing happen. But also, just as importantly, this is our first time out as the First Night Board making this happen. And, the response we got was remarkable. I look at what I call the string of pearls, the hundreds of cars every night with families coming down and enjoying this festival with all these little kids, 5 years old, with their eyes wide open, which was, I think, heartening, and more importantly, it shows Oneonta's optimism and resilience. Regarding electrical circuits, Carol is right. We do, as you know, and this is our pitch, the board asking, we do Hometown Fourth, we help with the Hot Air Balloon Festival. we're doing all this stuff, and we can any kind of additional power in the park, we will give you a ton of programming. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for the city for your remarkable help.
Anybody else from the committee want to have anything to comment on? Anything to say? You're welcome to. Okay. Council members, questions, comments? Any? Dave?
Yeah, just quick. I just wanted to thank everybody again for the tremendous job they did. I took my family down there, and I thought you did a wonderful job. I know it's a ton of work, but I also think it would be something that would be great if it could be done again in the future every year. I think we've talked about changing the electrical grid down in the park. That could potentially be a discussion starting in the Parks and Rec Committee, and we'll see where it goes. But thanks again.
Mark Trenick?
Yeah, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. What a wonderful twist on the First Night legacy. But I also want to make note of the fact that, what a lot of us know about putting together something, large, and a lot of people don't know about the breakdown of that. The idea that you guys did this for 21 days, day in and day out, it just floors me. I mean, it's more commitment than I think I could ever muster. And I'm so impressed with all of you, and from from all of the 8th Ward constituency and all of the city of Oneonta. Thank you so much for everything you did.
If the record could show that Mark Drenick formed this board 10 years ago, it's thanks to Mark that we're still viable today.
And really coming from you, Mark, that's just a wonderful compliment. I mean, the love from the community has been, I mean, there were 1 or 2 people that were disappointed that we didn't do the fireworks in the foothills and all that kind of stuff on New Year's Eve. But other than that, the thank yous we've been getting, and the people who really spent their holidays over there tweaking their displays and adding to them. And now today and yesterday, they were all over there taking them down. And it was a lot of work for everybody involved. But the fact that people around here were willing to put in that amount of effort to create something beautiful in the city, it was just, like I said, astounding. I was shocked.
Working, by the way, through an Oneonta winter.
Yeah. Dealing with everything, just problems and issues and, things blowing away. And, everybody was a trooper, no complaints. It was really, really rewarding to work with the people in this town, in this city. It's really great.
Carol, did you share the number of individual organizations that came out to do this, the number of individuals?
Well, 37 people created displays, and part of the, I mean, it was a good thing in a way, but we didn't have any time to promote it. We just kind of sprang it on you guys and you approved it. And then we sent out basically 1 mailing through the Chamber of Commerce, but then we got busy putting it together and we didn't really have time to get a lot more participation. And we got 37 organizations putting up displays. Probably if we would have tried, we could have gotten double that, but we wouldn't have had the electrical infrastructure unless we bought a bunch of generators to handle it. So it just wound up perfect in terms of the people who participated and actually the people who came and attended, because there were no big traffic jams, but yet I'm thinking, like, at times in our big nights, there were 1,000 cars an hour going through the park, and people were seeing it from I-88 and driving 45 minutes to come. So it just wound up to be perfect. There were a couple of nights where people had to wait, but for the most part, it just traffic flowed nicely through the park. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but
And in fairness, we should also credit the Daily Star, the Hometown Oneonta, WBNG, and WKTV for their free media for promoting the event well beyond the city of Oneonta.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it should be managed so it doesn't turn into a big, gigantic traffic jam. But boy,
There are a lot of happy families.
got a lot of potential for growth if we wanted to grow it.
Okay, as you've heard, a lot went into making this happen, and the whole committee worked together as a team to make it happen. But I don't know if you have any idea what the number of hours that Carol spent out in the rain and the snow. She has probably no idea. I can
Every
tell
day.
you that she spent all day on Christmas Day in the pouring rain and wind,
With you.
reassembling, no, not on Christmas Day, I wasn't there.
Oh.
On her own, reassembling everything that had to be taken apart in preparation for the storm that was coming, and spent most of Christmas Eve taking everything apart to protect it from the storm, and was out there by herself in the rain all day Christmas Day. But, pivoting from just this event for a moment, I don't know if I've ever taken the time to recognize just how much Carol Mandigo gives of herself to this community.
Here, here.
Not only the Festival of Lights, not only being a leading force in the first night events in the hometown 4th of July. She's the one who has created the murals on Deet Street that commemorate the history of that building. The giant puppets that you see in our parades, those were built by Carol. Carol uses her talents to bring joy to people. That's what she does. She's an artist, she's a musician, she's an advocate, she's an organizer, and she uses all of those abilities because she likes to bring joy to other people. And in recognition of her just unique and outstanding contribution to the people of the city of Oneonta, I want to award her with this plaque of the Key to the City, which says, presented to Carol Mandigo in appreciation for the generous use of her talents in bringing joy to the people of Oneonta. Thank you, Carol.
Oh my God.
She has also become our guardian angel.
You guys give me way too much credit. But
You've earned it, Carol.
Thank you so much. I'm so in love with this community because every single person, there's another key to this city. We've got a couple. But the real key to the city is a key that opens all those electrical boxes. I've got that for years, and they told me that was the key to the city. So
I'm surprised Al still even recognizes you. When does he ever get to see you?
yeah, he got a little grumpy because I was over at the park every day. But honestly, I loved it. It's just like the puppet show. It's showbiz. The show must go on. And just every single person was so positive. Every single person we dealt with, the whole entire process. Everybody from the city, everybody from SUNY, everybody from Corning, all the display people. Honestly, it was so healing, this divisive year we've had and all the fear and like trying not to be around each other, to feel that sense of community again. So I got a lot out of it. I loved it. I'm very happy that we were able to pull it off.
Bravo, Carol.
Okay.
What's next?
Thank you all. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't have something more exciting to do. But we love to have you if you want to stay.
And Gary again, thank you for your and Connie's help in the park through the sogging snow. We appreciate that.
And for Connie for wearing the butterfly wings with me all through the night, like at 5 degrees. But thank you so much to the Common Council and the City of Oneonta for all of your support. Everything we do, we always know we can count on you. So thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Okay, next on our agenda is we have a final report out from our auditors who have completed this year's audit of the city's finances. I'm going to turn it over to Ginny, who can give us a little background and introduce the auditors to us. I believe it's Paul Getz and Jonathan Gibbs. Ginny, why don't you take it from here?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to introduce everyone. Some of you have already met our auditors, but a number of you are new members of the Common Council. So Paul Getz is one of the partners from our VST auditing firm, and Jonathan Gibbs is the senior manager. He runs the audit and supervises all of the audit staff that does all of the detailed work. We have been very fortunate to have engaged VST for a number of years with the city. They have provided us excellent service, excellent consultation throughout the years, and they are a great team member to our financial department and also as the city as a whole. They are very thorough. They have many resources at their fingertips to be able to consult with, and so please be assured that the report that you're going to be reviewing tonight is very solid and very well prepared, very well audited. So thank you, Paul and Jonathan. So Paul, if you would like to start, please feel free.
Thank you, Jenny, for those kind words. Mr. Mayor, thank you for having us tonight, and fellow council members and the special guests. Every year we present, we always follow something very uplifting. That presentation about first night in the Festival of Lights really was uplifting to me. If you saw me twirl my head, I was pulling something up on the internet here in Albany. The, what do we call it here? The Capitol Holiday Lights in the Park has become so successful that this year they're saying we got to shut it down. The complaints from the residents along the streets, they're complaining it just became so big that now they want to shut it down. And that's dominated the headlines here in Albany for the 24 days that ran. Kind of depressing to me to hear that people are complaining about such a festival. So it's really uplifting to hear the success you guys had down in the city this year. 2 years ago when I was there, we were giving an award to, I think it was the person that greets most citizens that come into town hall. Again, a very uplifting speech followed by auditors. So you got to put us behind something depressing, okay? Generally auditors sound awful and it sounds like you're going to the dentist, but if we can just restructure where we show up on these, it would be appreciated. But the audit, much like the Festival of Lights, is an annual event. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. A lot of it's behind the scenes. There's no glamour. We don't run kids through in cars to look at the beautiful audits. But I tell you, you got a financial statement that the city should be proud of. The financial policies and the fiscal policies you've put in place have really positioned the city to do some good things. You've seen the downtown revitalization. You've seen improvements in parks. You've seen improvements in your water system. You see reserves, adequate reserves to allow the city to do some good things going forward. it's a pleasure for us as auditors to have the city of Oneonta as a client. We like to align ourselves with municipalities that are well positioned from a financial standpoint. We think we can do our best work with them. It has been a long-standing relationship with the city, and we appreciated it as well. I remember back when I joined the firm some 9 years ago, one of my first engagements was going to the city. And I still remember that trip down 88. I'd rather drive down 88 than have a Zoom conference, but this is what we're reduced to right now. Hopefully we get back to in-person meetings and in-person audits. The audit this year was conducted 100% remote. That 100% remote environment, while we think it's efficient from the aspect of us not traveling, but it's really puts a bit of stress on Ginny and the finance team. The uploading of documents that we have to look at to perform a thorough audit. There is a bit of extra effort on her part there. We thank you for that. Also with COVID and the pandemic, there was some relief that was awarded municipalities this year with respect to filing deadlines. We don't like to show up on March meetings to talk about financial statements from a year ago, but that was really out of a lot of people's control this year. So we'll get back on schedule next year, hopefully. With respect to the audits themselves, I see, Ginny, I just checked this morning that they've been posted up onto the website. They are posted for the public to see on the finance department website, publicly available information. I believe everybody was distributed an electronic copy of the financial statements. I will keep our prepared comments short, but in the financial report, the first couple pages of that report are the auditor's opinion that we issue. The remainder of the document is basically prepared by Ginny, audited by BST. We print the thing to make it look pretty, but that's really your document, the city's document. Our document is the audit opinion that we place on that statement. We issued a unqualified or unmodified opinion on the financial statements of the city. Also have to point out that the city prepares full GAAP compliant financial statements. Not every municipality does that, and that results in a different type of opinion. So you got the highest level of assurance an auditor can give on the financial statements. We also report on internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. We had no findings or issues with respect to either internal controls or compliance. Another aspect of our deliverables is the federal single audit. Federal funds are required to be audited when you meet certain thresholds. Bless you. The city was over that threshold this year, and we had to select certain programs to audit. That federal single audit was also uploaded to the federal audit website, and that resulted also in an unmodified opinion on your federal awards. The last deliverable we had was a New York State single audit on your transportation funds. Again, there was an unqualified opinion on the transportation funds. The other document that each of the finance committee should have received was our auditor's communication. That's a letter from us to those charged with governance. And that letter covers the qualities or the qualitative aspects of the audit. It's set up in a way that would would allow us to communicate any issues or problems with the engagement. You'll see in that letter that there's really of no issues to report. We had complete cooperation from the finance team, and it was a well-run audit given the circumstances this year. If I could if there's one part to the statements that you could look at if you didn't want to go through all 86 pages, I really should point out the management's discussion and analysis that's at the front of the statements. That's supposed to be like the Cliff Notes version of the financial position and results of operations for the city for 2019. It's really well written, gives you a decent summary of material events and the financial position of the city. Our fund balances are in a position where we can ride out some rough times that we might be experiencing now for a while, but that's all because of sufficient planning in the past that has positioned ourselves for that. So again, a clean audit, nothing negative to report. And we thank Ginny and her team for the cooperation that we received during the audit. John, that was a quick speech. Did I miss anything of highlights? And I need to thank John and our team too for completing the audit.
No, that was good, Paul. Again, I just want to thank Ginny as well. This was a challenge for everyone, but Ginny was very gracious with her time and helping out our folks. There was a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of things in order to get the necessary source documentation that we need in order to issue an opinion over the city's financial statements. I thank Ginny and her team for helping us out, being flexible and allowing to get through the audit together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul and John. And Paul, don't sell yourself short. I thought that was a very uplifting report. So, and municipalities, not-for-profit organizations, all strive to get this type of audit. And I can tell you they don't all succeed in doing so. So the value of an audit like this that is so positive in nature, a clean audit, means more than you can imagine. I mean, not only does it provide reassurance to the taxpayers that their money is being well cared for and accounted for and well spent, it also is a big help when it comes to having to borrow money, when it comes to applying for grants, when people look to invest, come to the city of Oneonta with a business or to buy property or to invest in the city. People look to see what type of an audit that you have. And this really does mean a lot. So it's money in the bank in two ways. One is really money in the bank. Two, it means a lot in value just having a clean audit like this. So I just want to say congratulations to Ginny and to Joe. I know it's a team effort. It takes everybody in the city doing what they have to do, but it also takes leadership. And that comes from Ginny and Joe, who have worked very hard to get us to this point. So thank you, Ginny, and thank you, Joe.
And it's also a credit to, the long-term aspect of this as well. This doesn't happen overnight. This has been ingrained in the city for as long as I've been a part of it. You're right, Mr. Mayor, that it is not something that you should take lightly. Not everybody does get an unqualified opinion, and those that don't have them really struggle to get to them. And the effort that goes into it is it's quite a task.
Any comments from or questions from council members? Okay, I think, thank you, Paul. Thank you, John.
And we wouldn't offend you if we exited the meeting, correct?
No, not at all.
Okay, great. Thanks. Have a great night.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Just a very, very brief couple of announcements from me before we go forward with the rest of the meeting. One, this morning, I was honored to have the opportunity to attend and speak at Congressman Delgado's press conference, Zoom press conference, in which he announced that he and Councilmember Zeldin from Long Island, a Republican council member from Long Island, are co-sponsoring bipartisan bill to bring federal financial assistance to local municipalities. We know how badly it's needed. We know how it affects municipalities who are hurting from a loss of revenue. We know that we've been shut out of all aid so far. So we'll see where this goes, but I do appreciate Congressman Delgado and Congressman Zeldin from drafting this bill and issuing it as a bipartisan team. So, and I was honored to be able to attend and speak at that press conference this morning. Uh, uh, Starting this Saturday, I don't know for how many Saturdays it will last. I hope it lasts for a considerable amount of time. Bassett Hospital has agreed, or Bassett Healthcare Network has agreed to provide rapid tests to the general public. You don't have to have symptoms. You don't have to have a prescription at 125 Main Street by appointment only. You can check online for the telephone number for appointments, something that has been badly needed here in the city of Oneonta. I'm pleased that we worked with Bassett on getting them additional test supplies from the state in exchange for them providing some municipal public testing to the general population here. So I'm pleased to see that start this Saturday. Right now, we're all a little worried about where we stand with COVID numbers. I do want to tell you that the bad news is that the Mohawk Valley region, 6-county region of which we are a part, unfortunately has the highest positivity rate in the entire state. The average for these 6 counties is higher than New York City, it's higher than Long Island, it's higher than Westchester. It is the highest in the state. The good news is that Otsego County, which is part of that average, and the city of Oneonta have amongst the lowest numbers in the state. Now, it seems like an outlier, but it can only be attributed to we're doing the right things here. It's simple. You do the right things, people don't get COVID. You don't do the right things, and they do get COVID. So we got to keep it up for a few more months. I can tell you about vaccinations that we will be going soon this week, maybe next week at the latest, to phase 1B, which opens up vaccinations to all persons who are 75 and older and all essential workers. There will be greater definition as to who is included in essential workers, but this will include millions of additional people to be vaccinated coming either later this week or early next week. Okay, that's all I've got tonight. I know we've had a long meeting, so we'll move along. Next on our agenda are board and commission reports. We only have one that was met, I believe, was the Planning Commission. And Councilmember Risberger, do you have a report?
Well, sort of. We met on December 16th. There was one item on the agenda and those folks did not show to the meeting. So it was tabled and hopefully we'll see them later this month.
Okay. Okay, we can go to committee reports. Councilmember Risberger, you're on again for the Planning Committee.
Thank you. We met on December 28th. We had one item on the agenda, and that was to give a, you actually gave an update to the DRI project, and you went through detail by detail on all the different projects that have been going on. I think it was good to have an overview and a review of what people have been doing over the last year. I think COVID kind of got us sidetracked on making one large report. And I know you sent this report out to the entire council. I was wondering if, I mean, I could read through this, it'll take a while, but is there some way we can post the report that you sent out to the council, post that on the city website for people to see?
We certainly can, and it's also, the committee meeting does live on YouTube, and people can,
oh, that's true. Yeah.
People can go onto the City of Oneonta YouTube channel, look for this past month's planning committee meeting, and watch it as if they were there.
Well, I have to say, after looking through the details, and then I read through it again yesterday, and I can say that I think 2021 is going to be a very busy year for the city. So on a positive note, so I look forward to seeing a lot of these projects either finishing or many of them will be starting. So I think we're in for some great changes ahead.
Thanks, Dave. Finance Human Resources Committee, Councilmember Carson.
Thank you, Mayor. We also met December 28th, 6 p.m. The format on our agenda is a little bit different. So I believe for the council, items on our agenda would start from motion 11 tonight and run through. With some questions about I believe there's $164,000 worth of expenditures. Motion number 10, sorry. So we would start from motion number 10. I would just like to note that with that large snowstorm that the city incurred approximately $40,000 worth of costs to remove that, which was needed, because if we hadn't, with the prediction of the 2 inches of rain, we would have surely had a mess on our hands. So it was good that the snow was removed, and it was also good that we didn't get 2 inches of rain. Probably the only other aspect from our minutes was we did ask Greg Mattice for an update on the GIS position that was filled earlier this year in 2020, excuse me, last year in 2020. And he gave the committee an update, and the benefits of that new hire for that new position is really working out. And moving forward in 21 and future years, the benefits are going to be reaped from having that type of position. So it was good to hear that already we're reaping the benefits from that. But at this time, I guess I'll turn it back over to the council, and if there's any questions that I could answer. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Len. With that, we'll go to City Health Officer's report. Dr. Jorgensen.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I was just getting a text from Fox, but so I would hope that my news is as good and inspiring as first night's, but it may not be. All right. Let's start here. So just a brief review. Worldwide, we're now at more than 85 million confirmed cases, which represents 13 million more than when I last reported 3 weeks ago, about 4 million new cases a week. You can see from the graph that the numbers are pretty steady, and over 1.8 million deaths. The United States still has the highest number of confirmed cases. As of today, that's over 20 million and over 350,000 deaths. The new cases per day have been averaging around 200,000 and new deaths up to 2,000. Here it is in graphic representation. You can see the numbers are maybe leveling off, but certainly not in any approximation of declining yet. In New York State, our numbers continue to go up. We now have reached over 1 million cases. The positivity rates are increasing, but some of that is because the testing has gone down a little. And as the mayor indicated, the upstate increase is greater than the city increase, as this graphic from the CDC shows, and Mohawk Valley has reported an overall positivity rate of 10.7% for the last week. But as you can see, Otsego County's positivity rate is lower than the whole Mohawk Valley average at 6.3%. And you can see our numbers are pretty level throughout the month of December. So for those of you who haven't figured it out yet, the daily reports from the county are now back on the website as opposed to the Facebook page, and they look a little different. This is today's report. You can see that 14 new cases were reported. There remain 19 patients in the hospital, county residents, and there are 126 active cases. Total deaths at 17 represent 7 more deaths since I reported to you 3 weeks ago. So that is concerning. If you click on the dashboard, what you see are some graphics which are new. This bar graph represents the number of active cases. So it's different from a lot of the other graphics you may see that represent cases per day, but active cases is still something important to know. And you can see that our active cases in the county have stayed pretty level in the last month. And the other graphic they show you is the daily positive cases for the last week. And you can see this number is coming down a little bit, which is a little bit encouraging. Here in Oneonta, we are not able to provide you with cases since the last day of the month. But talking to the health department today, they told me they're still averaging about 2 to 4 a day, which is where they've been at for the last number of weeks. So we in the city are accounting for a fairly small percentage of the county's cases, which is encouraging, and I think an attribute of our good work. So this is from Greg, and I think, correct me, Greg, if this is not the most recent. We've had somewhat of a delay in getting our wastewater results back. This is from the 21st, but we did see an uptick in viral RNA in the wastewater at that time. So it's something we'll continue to monitor. You can see also in the lower graph that the cases in Oneonta, again, represent now a smaller percentage of the total county caseload. In terms of what's happening in our hospitals, the Bassett Network in whole now has over 50 inpatients, most of whom are in Cooperstown, where the ICU is at or near capacity, and they're busy increasing, building out new rooms. As of this morning, there were 8 COVID inpatients at Fox Hospital. The census showing a significant increase since yesterday. So we still are seeing a lot of sick patients in our systems, which at this point are still managing to function both in terms of space and staffing. In terms of testing updates, I think Gary shared with you that through his efforts and with the help of the state and Bassett, there will be free testing for our Oneonta residents at 125 Main Street this Saturday and next Saturday, hopefully to continue. Fox Hospital and the Bassett system provided our first responders with surveillance testing in the last couple of weeks of the month, which was much appreciated. And we're still working on getting pool testing going through SUNY Upstate for our first responders. Next news is terms of vaccines. At our last meeting, the Pfizer vaccine had just been granted emergency use authorization by the FDA. And the following week, Moderna was also granted. And so a lot of the news in the last couple of weeks has been around vaccine distribution. Worldwide, over 14 million people have been immunized. And as you can see from this CDC dashboard, over 4 million people in the United States have now received vaccines. Here in the network, most of the distribution has come through the Bassett Healthcare Network. They have now immunized over 1,500 employees, as well as 14 others that meet criteria for phase 1A. Fox Hospital, as of this morning, had immunized 315 employees, including workers in the nursing homes, and 308 community members. This effort began on the 23rd of December. Acknowledging there have been some logistical challenges, I think everyone in the network that has worked, has done their very best. There's been some difficulty again with the state. And I think you can see the city just put out from the County Department of Health a link that people can go to see if they in fact qualify. Here's a list of people that qualify as of now. And as Gary said, 1B will be coming fairly soon that will include more essential workers. But anyway, there is a way you can now go to this link to the state website. And then if you do qualify, it will give you a listing of places to go. So let's see if I can get out of my screen share. Maybe not. There we go. So I did this to do. Am I out of screen share now? Yeah, okay. So you can see I got vaccinated at Tri-Town today and it went very smoothly. And the staff, again, I feel like everyone's pitching in and doing their very best to work with systems that they've never worked with before. I was also quite encouraged to hear that the residents of the Cooperstown Care Center, which was once the Manor and then Focus, have been vaccinated through Walgreens. And again, what happened is the state contracted with pharmacies to vaccinate nursing home residents. Fox Hospital residents are scheduled to be vaccinated through CVS this Friday, and Chestnut Park residents have also been vaccinated. So I was just, again, encouraged to know that our most vulnerable populations have been able to be vaccinated. The county department received their first shipment today, and beginning Friday are going to go out to some congregate care settings, Springbrook, Pathfinder, ARC, to administer vaccinations. And I think we'll see more and more of the county stepping in. I think a combination of the hospital networks and the county as it rolls out, providing more vaccinations. So again, I find that quite encouraging. Other news, the New York State last week, the Department of Health updated its quarantine guidelines so that it's now aligned with the CDC guidance, such that people can exit quarantine if they're a close contact if it's been 10 days and they've had no symptoms. On December 19th, the United States noted its first case of the new variant you've seen a lot in the news in the UK. And New York State this week reported our first case of that variant. As far as we know, though it's more transmissible, it's not necessarily more virulent. And as far as we know, the vaccine will still be effective for this variant. So more on that as we learn more. Finally, I just want to mention that the students are due back. Hartwick College students will begin coming back on the 12th, and they have a very robust plan in place to have students tested before they return and to have regular testing once they're back. Similarly, SUNY students, as of now, are planning to come back the third week. That plan is being revisited, and later this week, I think we'll hear more if there will be a delay in them coming back. But as of now, the plan is for SUNY students to come back. And please, if any of you know otherwise, please let me know. And they also have a robust testing plan in place for their students. That being said, I think with the students returning, there will be another opportunity for spread if we're not mindful. So we need to continue being very vigilant in spite of the vaccine with all of our efforts to encourage social distancing, limiting gatherings, wearing masks. And with that, I will open it up for any questions. Or comments. Mark?
Mark Janik, yep.
Yeah, hi, Diane. A concern, and I understand, because I was in the correspondence loop that you were as well with Heidi Bond. She is well beyond too busy to be pulling together these city numbers. From my perspective, from the perspective of downtown's marketing to its broader community and pushing the viability of its retail sector, it's all about how safe it is, and it's all about then what those numbers are. And while we've been posting every day on the Support Oneonta site an updated version of the graph that you were showing a little bit earlier, that ended for us as well on around the 28th or so. And right now we are looking anecdotally, you're saying, at about 2 to 4 cases per as we've been, which is fine. A lot of people are concerned, I'm concerned, about the new variant is 70%, they say, is a number that I've heard anyway, more contagious than the current virus that we've been dealing with. And I know I was downtown yesterday and passed the first 6 people I passed on the sidewalk of varying ages were not wearing masks, which is super concerning. But of more concern really is our being able to get those numbers out to people. I don't know what the answer would be to that. I volunteered to Heidi that if there's anything we can do, that I'd be happy to delve into numbers. I know it's a lot of work, but I feel like we need these numbers. Anything that you might be able to bring to that?
I will try. I mean, I think they have those numbers. I just think it was the extra work it was taking Heidi to email us all with those numbers. So it was Kim, one of the nurses I spoke with today, but I'll call back and see if I can. I mean, I'm happy to do what I can to get those numbers for you. Yeah. But yeah, I think we can look at it a couple of ways. It is reassuring that our numbers are low, but I don't think it changes any need for vigilance that we should have.
What I would suggest, though, is that a lack of information typically will allow people to provide their own information, which is generally going to skew in a direction that you don't want it to. So, if people don't feel it's safe to shop downtown, they will not shop downtown. And knowing what the numbers are rather than projecting what the numbers might be, because now the students are back or whatever the case may be, having empirical information is going to be more helpful to us always than not. And so, as I said, I'm happy to volunteer and volunteer the crew that works for me to do whatever might be necessary to take some of the load off. I wouldn't expect you to be doing that, but I feel like those numbers are very important.
Mark and Diane, I have approached Heidi on this in conjunction with some of our Oneonta County Board reps to ask that we be provided with, at minimum, weekly numbers. Twice a week would be even better. So I'm waiting to get an answer back on that. I do imagine there's a problem with volunteering to help because there's confidentiality issues. They have to sort through the raw data. And, I'm working with Heidi on it and our county reps to come up with a solution that may not be every single day. But, the problem is that these numbers are not available anyplace else. They're not on the website. They're just not available. And I think it's important that we do have a sense, particularly with students coming back, of how we're doing here in the city. So we'll continue to work on that. I do think we'll come up with a solution.
And the other perspective I would offer is just to bear in mind that, these numbers have to do with the address of the person you're testing. And at any given time, just like there are maybe 50 people in our hospitals, they are not all Otsego County residents. There may be people in downtown Oneonta and especially in the town of Oneonta shopping that are not city residents or town residents. They're from surrounding counties. So just because the city may have a low positivity rate doesn't mean it's not here. And that's just an alternative perspective I would offer that.
Yeah, it's
and
not
another-
simple.
Yeah.
I think you have some questions, Diane. I see some hands up there, Luke.
Katie?
Katie.
Okay, me first. Okay, so I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. I think, Dr. Jorgensen, that I heard you say that the ICU in Bassett is at or near capacity.
That's what I heard from the incident command at Fox Hospital earlier today. And I did speak with the incident command at Bassett later today, who said that was true. However, they are finding, I mean, they're not, I think they're able to take care of the patients they have and are expanding their capacity even as we speak to accommodate any additional patients that may need care.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think for me that just underlines your point, though, of recognizing that still here and that am I cutting out?
You're cutting out. Yeah, sorry, Katie.
Luke, why don't you go while we wait for Katie to come back?
Sure thing. I think this might be a question for both you, Dr. Jorgensen, and you, Mayor. We had a ward meeting not too far back for the first ward, and one of the questions was brought up about confidence, not only in the college's reopening plan, but particularly in terms of this new strain. And I know this is very new to the state. I believe, was it yesterday or 2 days ago that it was reported in Saratoga County, which is, alarming. One of the questions I've had repeatedly over and over again was how city officials that are closest to working with the college feel about the reopening plan in regard, I guess, to how it compares in November and your level of confidence going forward for January. Do you both have a moment to talk about that?
Sure, Gary, you want to go first? Do you want me to go?
No, Luke, right now it's a moving target. The plan that the college put together was a very solid plan, very different from the plan that was put out in the fall. You have to remember that in the fall, no students were tested before they came back. There was no requirement of testing on an ongoing basis. The current plan, no student comes back unless they have a negative test within 3 days of coming back. And every student is required to be tested on a weekly basis. So that is very different. In addition, there is a whole different approach to treating those students who live off campus as part of the campus community and held to the same standards and brought into the family, so to speak, which they weren't before. Now, that said, it's going to depend upon in the next couple of weeks, as Diane was saying, what's going on in the outside environment. If that's what's really going to drive whether the plan is strong enough to withstand. It certainly looked good when it came out. If things continue to go in the wrong direction, it may, the strong presence of it could counteract the strength of that plan. So I think we're going to have to wait and see in the coming days and also get advice from the experts on this, see what Washington says, see what Albany says, about it as well. So, so there's no simple, easy answer, I think, at this time. Diane, you may have something else.
No, I concur. Again, what I had heard from President Craig was that this week they were going to kind of revisit their plan in light of, where we were in terms of positivity and spread. So we will be hearing, that's SUNY. I think Hartwick their plan is in place. And I think it is very different than the fall plan, having lessons learned and having more access to testing that they didn't have before. I think the other critical thing is messaging to the student body and understanding that certain standards of behavior need to be not only emphasized, but mandated and enforced. So, and that's also on us, the city, a little bit to work together with the college to make sure that happens. So, I'm confident that we have now the resources and the cooperation to make it work. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. I know it's not a short, quick answer. And I thank you for the details. I was taking notes. I hope you didn't mind. If I was looking back up and down, just to make sure I had correct information to give back to people. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jorgensen. Okay. Okay. We are ready to go to the consent agenda. As always, I will read through and give you an opportunity to ask for items to be removed if you wish. One, motion that the council approves the minutes of the regular meeting, which was held December 15th, 2020. Two, motion that the council approves the warrants totaling $1,711,640.27, and that the same be placed on the Director of Finance's desk for payment as presented. Three, motion that the council designates the Daily Star as the official newspaper for all publications of all such matters as the Common Council may direct, in compliance with Section C39 of the City Charter. Four, motion that the Common Council will continue to follow the principal rules governing motions for meetings of the Common Council for the year 2021. Five, motion that the council concurs with the mayor's appointment of Councilmember David Risberger as acting mayor for the year 2021. Six, motion that the council authorizes the finance director to borrow funds if necessary during 2021 in anticipation of receipts of revenues that would be derived from property taxes and or other income sources. Seven, motion that the council designates the Bank of Cooperstown, Community Bank, Key Bank, NBT Bank, and NY Class as depositories for all or part of city funds during 2021. Eight, motion that the council concurs with the mayor's recommendations and approves the following paid appointments. Judy Sweet, Bingo Inspector, January 14th, 2022 expiration date. Mark Simonson, City Historian, January 14th, 2022 expiration date. Lisa Lauritsen, Deputy Purchasing Agent, December 31st, 2021 expiration. Carrie Ann Harrington, Registrar of Vital Statistics, December 31st, 2021 expiration. Diane Jorgensen as Health Officer, January 14th, 2022 expiration, and David Merzig as City Attorney, January 14th, 2022. I believe that all of these appointments are reappointments with possibly Kerry's may have been the Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics, if I'm not mistaken. 9, motion that the council concurs with the mayor's recommendations and approves the following appointments to city boards and commissions. Airport Commission, Les Grummins as a reappointment, Lou Shields as a new appointment, both for expiring dates of 2014, 2024. Board of Electrical Examiners, a reappointment of Mark Hogue, 2014, 2024 expiration date. Board of Public Service, a new appointment of Pam Grimm, for term expiring 2014, 2024. Commission on Community Relations and Human Rights. This is a new appointment of Deandra Sangetti Daniels with an expiration term ending January 14, 2024. Environmental Board, 3 new appointments. David Ainsworth, term ending January 14, 2022. Michael Forster Rothberg and Paul Bischoff, both terms ending 2014 to 2024. Huntington Memorial Library, John Pontius and David Highland, both reappointments, both terms ending January 14th, 2026. Parks and Recreation, Brett Heindel is a reappointment. Libby Cudmore is a new appointment, both terms ending January 14th, 2024. And Planning Commission, Shane Deegan is a new appointment, term ending January 14th, 2024. That does still leave a couple of openings on our boards and commissions, which hope to see filled in the next meeting. 10, motion that the council approves the budget transfers totaling $164,900 as presented in the attached report. 11, motion that the council declares the items per the attached list as surplus and authorizes the purchasing agent to dispose of same. Items determined to have value will be listed for sale on the auction website, publicsurplus.com. 12, motion that the council accepts the City of Oneonta financial report, including the single audit reports dated December 31st, 2019. Should that be 2019, Jenny, or should that be 2020?
It's for 2019.
2019?
Yes, it's the 2019 audited reports.
Okay. As prepared by BST and Company, CPAs, LLP of Albany, New York. 13, motion that the council authorizes the City of Oneonta to extend the memorandum of agreement with the County of Otsego for the continuation of bus service to the southern portion of Otsego County. This would be along the route designated as Route 6, which includes stops in Oneonta, Otsego, Unadilla, and Sydney. This service would be totally funded by the CARES Act, and the city would remain eligible for all mileage reimbursements from the operation of that route from both New York State DOT and STOA funds. And Ginny, you're gonna have to help me. STOA stands for State Transportation Operations.
Assistance.
What's the A?
Assistance.
Assistance. I should have known that. The service would be provided using only currently owned and operated OPT buses. This service agreement would continue for no longer than 6 months unless extended by authorization of the council and is subject to review by the city attorney. 14, Whereas the city of Oneonta has adopted and established a program of real property tax reduction for low-income senior citizens who reside in the city pursuant to Section 467 of the New York State Real Property Tax Law. And whereas in the past it has been required that an application for that exemption be renewed each calendar year by the submission of certain tax records to the assessor. And whereas on December 18th, 2020, Governor Cuomo issued Executive Order 202.83, which among other provisions permits local governments that are assessing units to pass a resolution to offer the senior real property tax exemption under Section 467 of the New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 467, for the 2021 assessment roll without the need for such qualified individuals to renew their application with the assessor. And whereas that executive order also included a provision that, if authorized, however, the assessor may require a renewal application to be filed with the assessor if he or she has reason to believe that an owner who qualified for the exemption in 2020 may no longer be eligible for such exemption. And whereas the council of the city concurs with the provisions of that executive order, and wishes it to be adopted for the 2021 assessment roll of the city of Oneonta, now therefore be it resolved that the provisions of Executive Order 202.83 as heretofore made by the governor shall and hereby be adopted by the Common Council in all respects, including authorizing the city assessor to require a renewal application to be filed if deemed necessary. And be it further resolved that the council directs the city assessor to implement these changes and administer said program and the tax records of the city for the 2021 tax year in conformance therewith. 15. Motion that the council concurs with the mayor's appointment of Robert Goulden as the city prosecutor. Council further approves the contract as presented to be effective January 6th, 2021. 16. Motion that the council appoints Bonnie Kuzo to the position of deputy city clerk. This would be effective January 6th, 2021. Base salary of $40,000. Subject, of course, to the satisfaction of all applicable civil service requirements. Council further authorizes Ms. Kuzo to be credited with 15 days of vacation time upon hire, which she will have available for use upon the successful completion of 6 months of service. Additionally, the council grants a permanent residency waiver pursuant to the City of Oneonta Charter, Section C18. 17. Motion that the council concurs with the mayor's appointment of Bonnie Kuzo as the Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics for a term to expire December 31st, 2021. 18. Motion that the Common Council appoints A. Michael Nader to the position of wastewater treatment plant operator, base salary of $33,642, effective January 6th, 2021, subject to the satisfaction of all applicable civil service requirements. 19. Motion that the council appoints Jared Vagliardo to the position of wastewater treatment plant operator, base salary $33,642, effective January 6th, 2021, subject to the satisfaction of all applicable civil service requirements. 20. Motion that the council appoints Valerie Wagner to the position of records retention clerk part-time at an hourly rate of $17, effective January 6th, 2021. 21. Motion that the council appoints Jamie McNamara to the position of purchasing agent part-time per diem at an hourly rate of $27 effective January 6th, 2021. And 22, motion that the council authorizes the mayor to enter into a 2-year agreement with Local Intel of Seattle, Washington for their business and investment assistance software as it relates to economic development. This agreement carries no charge for the first year of service and a charge of $2,900 for the second year, with the second year fees only being applicable should the city decide to continue its service. That concludes the consent agenda. Let me know if there's any requests to remove any of those items. Councilmember Lepari-Shu.
Yeah, 15 and 16, please.
15 and 16. Dave Risberger.
17 also.
If I don't hear of any others, and Scott, you had something there?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just so I could vote on the consent agenda this time, can we just pull motion 8 since it has Carrie in there, and then you guys can vote on that separate?
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 8, 15, 16, and 17. Councilmember Murphy, are you moving that?
Yes.
And I think I have a second by Councilmember Lepari-Shu. I will call the vote.
Yeah.
Councilmember Murphy,
Yes.
Councilmember Davies,
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger,
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari-Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter,
Yes.
Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, all but items 8, 15, 16, and 17 pass. Thank you. Let's go back to motion 8. This was the motion with the paid appointments. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Councilmember Risberger, do I have a second?
So moved.
Councilmember Davies? Discussion? Okay, I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger,
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari-Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Abstain.
Councilmember Rafter,
Yes.
Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
That passes. Thank you. We'll go to 15. Okay, this is the motion to appoint Bonnie Kuzo to the position of Deputy City Clerk.
No,
Do I
sorry,
have a
Mayor.
motion to? Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
city
Thank you. Yes, I jumped on. A motion 15. This is the appointment of Robert Goulden as the city prosecutor. I'll take a motion to approve if I have one.
So
moved.
Councilmember Davies, and a second, I'm going to add somebody, I'm not sure who. Councilmember Harrington. Discussion.
So I just asked for this one to be pulled so we could get some clarity on that date. It's written as January 1st in the motion and then also in the contract. So I just want to be sure of that before we vote.
I don't know why it was put January 1st in either. Anybody have any idea why it would be January 1st, say January 1st? Okay, apparently January 1st is the wrong date. The contract will be revised to say January 6th, as well as the motion.
Excellent, thanks.
Any further discussion? I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger,
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Rafter,
Yes.
Councilmember Drennick.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Now we'll go to 16. This is now appointing Bonnie Kuzo to the position of Deputy City Clerk. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Councilmember Rafter, seconded by Councilmember Davies. Discussion? Okay, if there is
Yeah, I'd
none.
just like to
Oh,
oh.
I'm sorry. No, go right ahead.
I'd just like to discuss with the council my objection to this motion as it's written is with the permanent residency waiver. I have been pretty straightforward since I got on council that I think that it's very important that the people who represent and are employed by the city also are residents of the city. I understand that that's not an option for Ms. Kuzo and that she is the most qualified candidate. And so I don't object to her being appointed to this position. It's just the permanent residency waiver is not something that I'm comfortable with. And so I would love to talk about that and just ways that as a council, we can be sure that our community is represented by its own members in all areas possible. And I know that there are numerous other, I don't know if council members remember me forwarding an email that was put together, I believe, by the personnel department with a breakdown of all of the city departments and city versus non-city residents of those departments. But it was pretty startling the amount of people who live outside the city. And I would just love to work with everyone to change that sort of back in the city's favor. And so I just didn't want to let this motion go by without mentioning that. And I would love any input that anyone else has on that. I hope I didn't break up that time.
No, we could hear you. I'm not hearing any further comment on it. Dave Risberger?
Yeah, I don't have a comment in response to Katie's question, but I do have a question about the residency waiver. We have done it in the past, but my question, and maybe Katie Bodker can answer this. Where will Ms. Kuzo be driving in from? Like, how far outside of the city does she live?
Sure, she lives in Lawrence.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Scott Harrington?
Yeah, I just want to say when in the finance committee, when I brought up my concern about waivers, I'm not looking to, I know some department heads took that, rumor is that some department heads took that as we're trying to look at bringing current department heads into the city and stuff. That was never the intention of my question. My question was just to take a look at waivers and how we give waivers out and what's the criteria and stuff like that. And just, you know, just make sure that we do a comprehensive look. And that's really what my concern was, and some of the concerns of people that have brought stuff up to me. And I think this is just a good way to spar a discussion maybe further on down the road as to what we might be able to look at to make maybe the city more attractive for people to want to move in to the city for jobs and stuff like that. And that's all that question was. And if I didn't phrase that right, my apologies to everybody out there that might be taking it the wrong way. That, you know, I just wanted to have that out there on the record.
I think Luke Murphy had his hand up.
Yeah, Katie, I agree. I think that it is important to have representation in um, from by city officials with all availability. I think preference should be given to individuals applying that should be in the city. That being said, I also understand that at times there is just a candidate that is particularly stellar that lives maybe just beyond the city limits. In this case, Lauren's a little bit further than just beyond, but I agree that ordinarily we should be giving first preference to individuals that live in the city. That being said, I do have faith in the mayor's recommendation at this time.
Ms. Berger?
Yeah, I think when I think about this, I think we've got 4 or 5 wards in the city that are near 50% student. So I think over the last 30, 40 years, we've had a dramatic change in the population in the city. So it's going to be harder to pull all of our department head people and staff, unfortunately, from the city. That being said, I would agree with everybody that's already spoken that I think we need to work hard to make our community more attractive to people that want to live and work in Oneonta. At the same time, though, I think we need to be wise in how we spend taxpayers' money, and we do want to try to get the most bang for our buck, and that includes getting the best person for the job. But as a council, that means it comes to us, and we have to make the decision, like we're doing tonight, of whether we want to bring in somebody that doesn't live within the community. So it's good that we're having the discussion here. There's a lot of factors to think about. But I think we'll make the right decision. So,
Any further discussion? LaParisio?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up and thank Scott and Dave for being willing to continue the discussion about making Oneonta a more desirable community for the people who choose to work here. I guess my question is, and that's sort of what I was getting at. I don't think that holding up this one appointment is going to solve the problem, and so that's in no way what I'm suggesting. But I agree that there does need to be some criteria for, granting permanent waivers. Otherwise, they're kind of meaningless, or the residency requirement is kind of meaningless if we'll just do it. Because it's the right candidate and that's what we have to do. So with all of that being said, and maybe this is for council discussion, I would love to talk about where, like, next steps and where that discussion should take place. Should it go to a committee? Where do we go from here to really put an action plan in place to be able to continue that conversation so that it doesn't just end here with this motion? So we can talk about that during council discussion if you feel that's more appropriate, Mayor.
If anybody has anything more to say on it at this time, they can say so. If not, we'll go on with the vote and take it from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark Davies?
Yeah, certainly, Katie. I appreciate you bringing this up. This is something I'd like to discuss. I think that not only just the waiver, but all the issues that have made it very difficult for folks to live within the community. We have housing that's very expensive. Some of it's just not housing that folks want to live in because it's pretty run down. So I think this is a really kind of comprehensive problem that I think we need to begin to think very thoughtfully about. And so I'd certainly like to start at planning at some point. Dave, kind of thinking this might be something we can talk about in our next meeting, is how do we begin to have an effort to begin to rebuild or revitalize our housing stock. I think we're not going to figure that out in one meeting, but I think we need to start having that conversation. I think that feeds into this issue. And I'm not trying to discuss what should be the kind of policy for a waiver, but I think we need to think about this comprehensively.
Chris Berger?
Yeah, last thing, Yeah, we can certainly talk about it. I think we've already put a lot of the building blocks in place. It's what the comprehensive plan is for. But yeah, it's always good to have a discussion, bring out the comprehensive plan, look to see if we need to make any adjustments. But I think we have a lot of positive changes coming in the near future that I'm hopeful that it will start the process of making the change that we're all looking for.
If there's no further discussion, and if there's no objections, I'll ask for a motion to approve both motions 16 and 17. One is for the appointment of Bonnie Kuzo to the position. The other is for the appointment of Bonnie Kuzo as Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics. Carson, are you? Okay, so I have a motion by Len Carson. Katie Lipari-Shu, are you seconding? Okay. I'll call the vote. Well, I guess I should say discussion since it's a new motion for both. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if there's not, now I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies.
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger.
Aye.
Councilmember Lipari-Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay, motions 16 and 17 now both pass. That concludes the consent agenda, but we have two more motions. Motion 23 is motion that the council authorizes the mayor to renew a contract with Destination Oneonta, subject to review by the city attorney, and for the organization's continued provision of community marketing, programming, and beautification services for the downtown area during 2021 for $60,000. Now, this was not put on the consent agenda. Apparently, it was an oversight that it was not previously brought to council. I'll entertain a motion to approve, and I'll also let you know we have representatives from Destination Oneonta with us if there are any questions that you want to ask during discussion. Do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Carson, do I second? Councilmember Davies, discussion. If there is none, I will take the vote. Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies.
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger.
Aye.
Councilmember Lipari-Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. And now motion 24. This is coming separate, not on the consent agenda. This was a last minute motion. I became aware just in the past week that New York State was making what they call New York Main Street Program grants available. My immediate thought went to the Oneonta Theater. I called up Bob Rosowski at Greater Oneonta Historical Society to get an update on how we were doing with the theater and whether it would make any sense to apply for a grant. Discussion took place with Bob and members of the board. And maybe even before I read the motion, I'll give Bob an opportunity to provide an update on where we're at with the hopeful revitalization of the Oneonta Theater. Bob?
Thanks, Gary. You know, the Oneonta Theater has been part of downtown Oneonta for almost 125 years. At the end of the 19th century, Willard Yeager and other community leaders got together and work to bring a state-of-the-art theater to Oneonta. Well, I'm part of a group of folks, growing group, who want to purchase the theater, which has now been closed for 3 years, and return it as a performance space. It's on the state and national register of historic places in its own right, and as part of the Oneonta Downtown Historic District, and it's an important component of downtown's revitalization. I was also on the committee to adopt the current comprehensive plan update, which the council approved. One of the goals on that plan is to bring back the theater and the economic and cultural benefits that it contributes to Oneonta and beyond. So I applaud the city's initiative in applying for the New York State Main Street Stabilization Grant. I hope you'll support the effort. I can't, we revitalized the Friends of the Oneonta Theater group, nonprofit, and we formed an LLC called 47 Chestnut, the address of the theater. I hesitate to go into the details about that because we're in negotiations with Tom Cormier, the owner, and those need to be private right now. But the theater does need, the building does need help. This stabilization grant, if it awarded, would give it a new roof. The roof, there's been a leak in the roof for a while now. So not only would it give the building a new roof, but it would also remediate any problems that have resulted from that leak. It would ameliorate any mold problems that may exist, and there is probably some exterior brickwork that should be done while to stabilize the building and get it ready for performance venue once again. Again, appreciate the efforts and of Judy and the mayor and everybody else in city government for helping out. See if we can't bring this building back.
Judy is here, and Judy did the research with the state, on this to identify what this grant can and cannot cover, or the nature of this grant. Anything to add to that, Judy?
Just that we're going for a stabilization grant. There was a number of activities that you could apply for. That's the one that makes the most sense, to allow the building to be stabilized so that it could be renovated in the future, but that this grant will allow it to just, make sure that we get the roof fixed and get some of these environmental issues straightened out with it. The deadline is January 15th, so it's very, very fast turnaround on this. And we're having Tillman Development write the grant application for us. That's all I have at this point.
Okay, so now I'll read through the motion. Then if during discussion, anything comes up that anybody wants to ask questions of either Bob or Judy, you can certainly do so at that time. Motion that the council approves the following. Whereas the city of Oneonta desires to apply for up to $500,000 in financial assistance through the New York Main Street program, and whereas the application proposes funding to assist 47 Chestnut Street LLC with building stabilization work at 47 Chestnut Street, also known as the Oneonta Theater. And whereas 47 Chestnut Street LLC will be responsible for providing the 25% required local match. And whereas the proposed funding will contribute to ongoing community and downtown revitalization efforts. Now therefore be it resolved that Gary Herzig, as mayor of the city of Oneonta, is hereby authorized and directed to file an application for funds from the New York State Office of Community Renewal through its New York Main Street program. 4, and upon approval of said request, to enter into and execute a project agreement with the state for such financial assistance to the city of Oneonta for the Oneonta Theater Stabilization Project. Be it further resolved that the council authorizes the mayor to order any necessary budget amendments, budget revisions, and/or transfers, and to take any actions and to provide any additional information which may be required to undertake the proposed grant application, acceptance, or execution. Do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Drenick, second. Councilmember Risberger, discussion. Councilmember Risberger.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This could be answered by either Bob or Judy. I've got 2 questions. Do we have a total cost on what it's going to take to repair the roof and repoint the building? And do we need somebody, based on the nature of the building, do we need somebody that specializes in historical restoration?
I'll take that, Judy, if you don't mind. No, we, Friends of the Oneonta Theater and Greater Oneonta Historical Society applied for and received a DRI grant a couple of years ago to have Duncan Webb Associates and a New York architectural firm come here and do a comprehensive study of the theater. And the architectural plan was that, their assessment was that the theater has, quote, good bones, but there have been some recent issues that need to be addressed. We're, as the mayor mentioned, this all came up very, very recently, this the opportunity for this grant. But we're having Eastman Associates look at the property and to see what we can do for somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $500,000 to stabilize. But it seemed, our estimate is that the roof is probably a $50,000 to $75,000 job, just from what we've not seen in the past. And not having been into the building for a year now, last year, right around, it's about the anniversary, I think, Gary, that we went through with SUNY Oneonta, then president, and other administrators. It didn't look too bad, but the interior, but we'll, a year is a long time to leave something vacant, and we'll just, Ed May and I are meeting with Tom Cormier day after tomorrow to, kind of do some negotiations and see where he believes we're at, and I hope get a look at what we're in store for.
Wow, Bob, that was January 2nd of last year that we toured the building. It seems like a decade ago.
Yeah, a lot has happened since then.
Yeah. Councilmember Carson.
Bob, as you stated earlier, that this is kind of a fast-moving transaction that you're working on, both in the building and then this grant opportunity. Without getting into much of the weeds, can you just give a simple yes or no? I mean, if you're applying for a $500,000, that means that your not-for-profit or your LLC is going to be coming up with $125,000 just to cover the grant, and then you have the purchasing of the property.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that by you being before us tonight, that you're financially stable enough to handle both transactions.
I didn't catch your last phrase, Len, I'm sorry.
I'm just asking that your new group is financially stable enough to handle both transactions. I mean, you have the purchasing of the building, and then you could be looking at $125,000 for the stabilization portion.
Well, we may be probably going to be in a position to have to borrow money. But when Duncan Webb did a study of this, 2 years ago, of the feasibility plan and the business plan, something like 96% of the people surveyed wanted to see the theater saved. There's a lot of public support. We obviously need to have a fundraiser to raise both money for the purchase. We do have substantial amount of money for the purchase already raised, but we'd have to raise an additional amount to meet the 25%, and I'm confident we can do it one way or the other.
Right, and given the timeline, I think Judy said that there was a quick turnaround on this grant, so you'll be finding out relatively soon whether or not you're eligible.
Right.
Yeah, let me, I can jump in there, if you don't mind, Bob.
Please.
The deadline for the application is January 15th, and HCR, the Homes and Community Renewal, they're anticipating grant awards in March.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be very, very fast. That's kind of unheard of that they turn them around that quickly, but they're getting this program out. They've pulled it out of the CFA because the consolidated funding application isn't coming out yet, and they had this funding available, so they're taking it out on their own because the CFA isn't coming out yet. So we need to take advantage of it. We don't know when the next round will be. So the LLC does not have to have the funds in place at the time of application, but they have to show what their plan is. So that will be included in the discussion in the application. And then by the time, if we get an award, then they'll have to have it in place by that time.
So they have to have the money in place at that time, or when they're down the road, ready to just start the stabilization?
Yeah, when we get the grant and then we go into an agreement with the LLC, a grant agreement with the LLC, and as they get their project started, that's the point at which they'll have to have the money in place. I don't think we'd be comfortable with doing a grant agreement without them having their match in place.
Right.
So, and the grant agreement should go fairly fast once we get a grant, if we get a grant award. We would want to turn around a grant agreement with the LLC fairly quickly. But typically these programs have a 2-year grant term, that our grant term would be 2 years. So, we would have a little bit of play in when that grant agreement happens. So, and hopefully
because ultimately that's what I was getting at, is that Bob's not going to be compressed. His group's not going to be compressed to have $125,000 ready to go April 1st.
Yeah, we'll have to, if we get the award, we would have to back into it, basically how long they would need for the construction. And that kind of would tell them how long before they'd have to have their share ready. So, and usually that's somewhere in a 2-year period, typically.
We've certainly got our work cut out for us, and we are optimistic that we can have support from the community.
Right. Well, I wish you luck, Bob.
Thank you.
Mark Janik.
Bob, I just want to be more clear. So this grant is totally contingent upon Tom Cormier selling the building, correct? So even though you're applying for this grant, Judy, if Tom doesn't sell the building, it's not something that he then could take advantage of. So he needs to sell the building, but it's kind of an interesting place. I don't know if that puts him in a better place or a weakened place, given the fact that there's a grant that can fix the building potentially, but only if he sells it.
Right, and well, we probably would have to work out a legal agreement with him that he guarantees that he will not sell it for any purpose other than it remaining as a performance space.
As far as the grant goes, Mark,
Yeah.
The city's grant application will be specific to support this organization called 47 Chestnut LLC. It will not, the grant application will not authorize the money to be used for any other organization.
Yeah, it does seem to put Tom in, like I said, I don't know if it puts him in a stronger position or a weaker position, but it puts him in a position for sure. All right. Anyway, thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. And I'm rooting for you.
If there's no further discussion, okay, I'll call the vote on this. Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies.
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger.
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. We're off to the races. Motion passes, and got a lot of work to do between now and January 15th.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Additional business. Any? Special orders? We never have those. Council discussion. Dave Risberger.
Thank you. I've got a few little things here, but if I can go over one and we can go round robin if other people have other things. Going back to the Transit Hub presentation that we had, Wendell said that they were going to be responding to questions from the public. Did they specifically include answers to questions from the public in their final presentation? I don't remember seeing that. And did people submit questions and did they answer them? And if so, if there's some way we can get that posted for people, I think that'd be great.
I think the answer is yes, yes, yes. People submitted questions. They were answered. It's part of the final report. And the final report is posted on the city website, including those questions and answers.
Okay. I've got a small one. I got a complaint from someone that it's a legitimate complaint. There seems to be quite a few sneakers on wires downtown right now. Do we call NYSEG about that? Who removes those? Does anybody know?
Greg, you're the tallest guy here, so you got to answer that question.
Can't jump like I used to, but I can put a call into NYSEG. Usually we try to coordinate with them or whoever's wires it is that they're hanging on.
All right, Greg, I'll send you the intersections where they are.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
You done, Dave?
Last one. I don't know if we need to go into exec session about this or not, but I was hoping we could have an update on the Bombers building.
We can go into executive session. You can call for an executive session afterwards if if you wish, after we finish the discussion. If there's any other items for discussion. Okay, if there's not, Dave, if you want to make a motion to go into executive session.
Yeah, I move we go into executive session to discuss the potential, I don't know what we would call this.
It's potential litigation.
Okay, potential litigation regarding the Bombers building.
I'll second.
Okay, I see a second by Councilmember Murphy. All in favor, just raise your hand. I think we'll do. With that, I would ask David Merzick to join us. And we need a magic button here, I think.
Mayor,
There it
before we go
is.
in,
Yeah,
I was gonna ask for an executive session for personnel anyway. So can Katie come in and we can just do it all in one shot?
yes.
Thanks.
Okay. We are back in regular session. If there is no further business to conduct, we are adjourned.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.